Hey friends, Kylie here, your host of Dream On with Kylie O'Miller, back for another episode with arguably the biggest name in the game, a hell of a teammate, and someone whose presence will leave you with nothing but smiles. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. These episodes are recorded from a live Zoom webinar that I hold through the KO17 Lacrosse app and are constructed into this Dream On podcast that you have found here. I hope you are gaining some insight from some of these episodes from the people that I have met through my lacrosse journey that have imposed so much of their wisdom on me. If you're loving our episodes so far, show us some love in the reviews and rate us 5 stars. Also, be sure to SUBSCRIBE. It would mean the world to us. All right, we've got another special guest this week, and I'm pumped to get right into it. Charlotte North is arguably the biggest name in the entire sport of lacrosse and beyond right now, and she just so happens to be my teammate on Team USA. Throughout this episode, we chat through the moments and memories made chasing after a gold medal. I asked Charlotte all about becoming the face of the sport during her time playing for BC and winning a national championship in 2021, and we chat about some memories of being roommates at Team USA training weekends. Despite winning the Tewaaraton Award 2 years in a row and now running her own company while playing professional lacrosse for Athletes Unlimited, what makes Charlotte one of the best is her love for her teammates. Her will to be the best version of herself in every way, and her desire to find joy in every moment of playing the game. We share a ton of laughs, get an insider scoop on what exactly the Dialed In consists of, and more. Let's get into it with the one and only Charlotte North.
Here it is. All right, KO17 fam. Welcome to another Dream On podcast episode. We have probably the most special guest that we've had to date. And when I say her name, you're probably just going to scream because that's usually what happens when her name is said. But we have Charlotte North on the Dream On pod today. Charlotte, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm pumped. I've been waiting for this one. I'm so excited.
Pumped too. So those of you listening at home, if you don't know who Charlotte North is, I don't know why you don't know, but she is a 2-time Tewaaraton winner. She's a national champion with BC. She has all of the accolades you can probably think of. I wrote down a couple, like your NCAA Woman of the Year nominee, SP nominee, all the awards, All-American. She's most recently a gold medalist with Team USA, first overall draft pick in 2022 with Athletes Unlimited. And she's doing all sorts of stuff with Ocho Lacrosse and all her own little companies. So pumped to have you, pumped to dive into all of it. And before we start with everything and just like lax stuff, I always like to just kind of get into the mindset of our guest. So we start with off to a good start. So something that you are thankful for today. What's that, Char?
Ooh, I'm thankful for my teammates on Team USA because like you, we get to connect even if it's virtually when we're all in different spots doing very different things day to day. And then we get to reunite, every so often, but thankful for those relationships because they're the best.
100%. I love it. All right, what's something you're proud to say that you've accomplished today? For reference, it's 4:15 on a Thursday in September.
Oh, I got to get up early and train a group of high schoolers, and then I got to go work out with a cool group of athletes here in Boston. So I'm proud of those two things that I've done today.
Love that. Nice early start, and you got it all done nice and early.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least, what's something that you're pumped to go and chase? Might be like with the rest of your day or in the coming years. What's something that you're pumped to chase?
I'm very pumped to chase the dream of getting lacrosse into the Olympics.
Ooh, I like that one. A lot of people end up with like a very like close goal, like almost something to do
like
in like the next coming months. Yeah. But I like that you're going big on us, which I don't know why I'm shocked by that, but I love it. I love it.
It was on my mind today. I think that's why.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Can't wait to hear more about that after the episode.
Yeah.
So we're thinking future Olympics, right? Let's start in the past. So you grew up in Dallas, Texas with 4 siblings playing all sorts of sports. And I know that you started off with basketball as your first love. So what was that like growing up in Texas, playing multiple sports? Like, what was your first introduction to lacrosse like?
It was crazy. It was a little later than probably the people you grew up around playing lacrosse because, like you said, I was very into basketball. I actually, in my fifth grade journal, every time they asked us, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I put WNBA player, and I just had that dream set for so long, and I watched games, and I loved it. I literally just went out and shot hoops every day. But I didn't know what lacrosse was at that point, so once I got into middle school, I didn't play a spring sport. I played field hockey and I played basketball. And then in the spring, I would just play travel basketball um, year round. And then my friends at school were like, "All right, like come play with us on the lacrosse team for our school in seventh grade, I think it was." And my friend let me borrow her stick. It was like this beat up pink. I don't even know what brand it was, leather pocket, but had like instead of like stick tape, it had like green duct tape on it. And it
Oh
was
no.
like, and I was like, it's like, what is this? Like, this isn't hockey, but we weren't really familiar with hockey either because it wasn't at my school and it wasn't huge in Texas. It was usually just, everything was around football, basketball, um, things like that. And so I was like, all right. And I immediately loved it. I loved just the atmosphere of the sport. I loved that it was outside. I loved that it was, it required and displayed athleticism, but every single player had a different style. And then, I played it for my school in middle school. And then once I got to high school, I'd played on the varsity team, but we weren't very good. And then after my freshman year, um, I played for a private school, Episcopal School of Dallas, and we played in a smaller conference. But my high school coach, the rest of my time there, came in my sophomore year, and she took over the club team that was local there, known as Grit Lacrosse, and she is amazing. Her name's Maggie, and she took over, and she just kind of allowed me to find my love for the game and kind of steered me in a direction where she allowed me to learn so much about the game. She played at Georgetown, she coached at Syracuse, and she's been all over, and she's super involved in the sport. And so she did such an amazing job, and took over our program, and we became, a winning program, and we ended up winning state my senior year. And I just loved everything about it. I just would be asking her questions after practice. I'd be trying to get, YouTube videos from her and highlights of, favorite players that I would start to watch in college, like Kayla Trainer. And then, she was like, I would just not want to put my stick down, and I would go to the wall, and I loved every part about it. And then she was like, I mean, we could sit down and talk about college. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't know. I always thought I would play basketball in college. Um, if I had the opportunity. And then that kind of, is where it all started. One thing led to another.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love that story. And, I know from knowing you that like Maggie's such a special person in your life.
Yeah.
And I think when you think back to like just starting and like first falling in love with the game, you said a lot about just like honestly having your stick in your hand and like
Hmm.
watching and learning from videos and stuff
Hmm.
like that. What do you think? So this is kind of like a fun question for me even to think about, but when you look back on like when you were younger, maybe you were 15, 16 years old in high school or something like that. Do you have like a special memory that sticks out in your head, like maybe a play in a specific game or maybe losing a big game or something that you'll just never forget? Like what is one of those memories from like your early on lacrosse days?
Yeah. I love that question. I definitely have a lot that rush to my mind. One that sticks out is, so Maggie came in my sophomore year, and obviously, our program, it was a solid program, but we just kind of took off when she got there. And but it was unexpected how, quick the turnaround was. And um the very first year she was there, I was a sophomore, and we had gone through the first part of the season, and we were all kind of getting to know her coaching style and everything like that. And it was so awesome, awesome environment, so competitive every day. Everyone just was really bought in, and was really getting better each week. But we ended up losing our first 4 to 5 games, I would say. And we were like,
Mm.
oh no, like, here we go. Like, we didn't have high hopes for the season, I guess. And then we get to playoffs, and we had won a few games. We actually beat our rival for the first time in like I don't even know how long in the school's history. And we were like, we won by one, and we like celebrated like crazy. Thought we won the national championship. And then we go into playoffs, and we go on this crazy run, and we upset this top seed coming out of the south of Texas. in the semis and made it all the way to the finals. And it was just an unbelievable experience because we always joke that, we started from the bottom. Like we literally play that song going into games, like on the bus. And we played the final, the championship at this field in Fort Worth, and Fort Worth doesn't have any lacrosse teams, or they didn't at the time. And, it was a small grass field, barely any stands. I mean, there was a fence around, there were parents standing at the fence, and it was just crazy. And when we looked around, we were like, we're really playing in this championship game, like us, this team, like, and it was crazy because we just like laugh how, we grew from something, and we made it to that point. And then from then on, we really excelled because of Maggie and because of, the culture she built there. But that was a really cool moment.
I love that. I love that you mentioned like those little moments too where you can like picture yourself back on the field and you picture
Yeah.
the fence and you're like, what is going on
Yeah.
right now? Like
Yeah.
just those pieces you could go back into.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I felt like I was there.
Taking a quick little time out from our episode here to say a massive thank you for listening. Dream On started off as a way to have conversations with some of the people that I've been lucky to come in contact with and really dig deep into what makes them tick and how they've become so elite in their spaces. If you're enjoying these conversations as much as I have been, please consider rating us with a solid 5 stars and leave us a review. I love hearing all of your incredible thoughts on how we can continue to dream on together with these episodes. Oh, and subscribe if you're feeling cool. All right, let's get back to our guest.
So you talked a little bit about too how Maggie kind of sat you down and was like, okay, are we going to do this in college? Or how was that once that conversation happened? And then you were kind of like, okay, maybe I should, lacrosse should be my spot. And how did we find, what a lot of people might not know about you is that you went to Duke for 2 years first,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how did that end up?
Yeah. So she encouraged me to come out for the club team. And not that many players from my high school at the time had played club lacrosse, so I wasn't very familiar. So then when Maggie came in, told me about, the atmosphere of club lacrosse, I mean, I was obsessed with the sport. She was like, you should come try out. And so I tried out, and I met so many amazing people just in the area who I would never have met if it weren't for the club program, because we went to different schools. But went and tried out, and I kind of got familiar with the club landscape, the going to tournaments, the getting in front of coaches and things like that. So she was like, if this is something you want to pursue, and I was obsessed again. Like I would not put my stick down and walk around the house literally cradling, like tossing the ball against not the right walls that were not sturdy enough. But literally like watching TV and stuff like that. And I was so obsessed. And she was like, all right, let's sit down and talk about like realistic goals. Let's put them on paper. Like, let's look at them. And I just was like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't know, like, if I can do this. I lacked a big piece of like self-confidence in high school. And Maggie was just so amazing in that, area where she was like, no, like you can go to these tournaments and you can play on the same field as players from other areas. And you can show that you can hang, and you can prove it to yourself. You can prove it to your teammates and to these coaches that might come watch you play. And, obviously, it was a little scary to be, the kid coming from Texas, but obviously we had players before us that came. Taylor Thornton came from the Hockaday School right down the road, our rival, and she went to play at Northwestern, and she was amazing. She was an All-American there, and she was someone we all looked up to as a trailblazer from our area. And so it was definitely scary being in that position, but Maggie really helped me realize what I had in me, kind of that self-belief, self-confidence. And then I only went to a few tournaments because I started after my sophomore year of high school. Happened pretty fast. I went to a couple tournaments with our club team, and Maggie and the other coaches got me in front of them. And I was fortunate enough to be recruited by Duke, like you mentioned, at one tournament. And then it happened going into my junior year. I went on a visit quickly after that. Loved the campus, loved everything about it. Wanted to compete in the ACC. I actually had previously been obsessed with their basketball program, their women's basketball program, in my middle school days, and I'd watch them and idolize them. Actually, fun fact, the Las Vegas Aces, the ones that just won the WNBA championship, Chelsea Gray, she was obviously she was the most outstanding player of the tournament, but she was actually at Duke basketball camp that I went to when I was 5th, 6th grade. And I literally like turn on the TV to this day and I'm like, oh my God, I was literally coached by her
I
in
know
Cameron
her.
Indoor. Like literally, I was like crazy fan. Like it's so cool. Like to me, I don't know, random fact. But yeah, I love the campus. I loved athletics. I loved academics. I loved all of it and the coaches, and it was awesome. And so yeah, I played my first 2 years there. I was terrified going in freshman year, but again, I would call up Maggie and be like, "Am I really playing college lacrosse right now? Like, oh my God, like I don't know if I can hang." And she would be amazing, and she helped me in that transition, of course. And then after my sophomore year, I entered into the portal, and then we went from there
Rest
and
is
ended up
history,
in
huh?
Boston College. Yeah, pretty much.
well, well, that's I guess my next question, right? Is something you mentioned, which I think is really, really interesting, especially for our listeners, like who are looking at you now. They'd be like, "What? Charlotte North had no self confidence in high school, right?" And then even going into like, right, you said your first 2 years at Duke, and then entering that transfer portal, finding BC, like what do you think you learned from that quick transition? Like you said, like, oh my God, I'm playing D1 lacrosse in your first couple of years, and you took all of that. What did you learn there? And you took into BC when you finally did get there.
Oh, I learned a lot. I think, I learned a lot going, from high school with Maggie, like I
Mhm.
said, and then into college. And of course, that's a super scary transition no matter where you are. Leaving home, going, especially to play a Division 1 sport at a really competitive school. But I had great senior leaders that year that I came in my freshman year, great teammates. It was so awesome. They brought all of us in, showed us the way, taught us, what life was like as a Division 1 athlete, trying to, compete at the highest level. And then, again, when I decided to enter the portal after my sophomore year, Maggie was another, rock for me in that situation. And, we would just, talk back and forth, and she just was so helpful and just, hearing, my thoughts, how much I've learned, how much I've grown. And allowing me to just really see and set goals for myself, for the rest of my career. And that was awesome. And again, I right when I entered in the portal, I was lucky that I got the first phone call from Acacia, and just hearing her talk about everything she's built at BC, and the culture of winning, and the culture of just teammates and relationships and loving each other, and being a family. It's really crazy how it kind of came to life in my experience the next few years after that. And I'm just so lucky that I got to, be coached by her and her other staff, and just get to know all the great people at BC.
I love it. I think something you mentioned too in that last piece is like the culture of the BC locker room and everything. And one of my favorite conversations to have now that we're like post college, and some of the really cool things about playing pro lacrosse and then being on the US team is that everyone kind of went to different spots, and we all
Hmm.
used to be opponents, and we didn't quite care to know what was going on in the other locker
Right.
room, right,
Yeah.
when it was happening. But now it's kind of really intriguing to me to know, like, okay, what was going on in those huddles, or what were some of the traditions at BC that you guys had that might be unique to like another college program? What were some of those things that you find really special and really unique to like playing for BC?
I love that point because it's so true. Everyone comes from such different places, and you don't kind of get into it until you leave, I guess, because you're so in
Hmm.
your own, your day to day, trying to get to the top and be successful. Um, but it's so awesome to hear just, highlights of everyone else's college experience and programs, because there are so many great ones out there, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, but so many things stick out to me. I gotta say the first one, like I said, it's just the family atmosphere. We Acacia preaches it all the time, and we're just so connected. But beyond that, we're connected to the people who played before us, who we maybe never had a chance to play with or share a locker room with. And then beyond that, it's so cool to see people of the BC lacrosse greater family whenever you see them or you hear them or they give you a call or reach out, things like that. It's so strong. And that's just a huge credit to the coaches. I mean, they work so hard every year on the culture of the program. And I think in any great program and team, that's the foundation, right? It's like,
Mhm.
X's and O's come after that, and that's the base layer that is needed to be successful. And that's something I learned from them, and it's something they do such an amazing job of. Um, and I guess to tie into that, the relationships, it's like the coolest part of the sport, right? And
Yeah.
another thing I learned at BC is just that's the best thing that you take away, right? Nobody will remember in 10 years or 15 years who won or lost what game, but when you have those connections that truly last forever, I think that's like the most valuable piece. And same thing with every other team
Mhm.
that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. It's probably the best part of this sport is how it brings people together.
Hey guys, Kylie here. A short break from our conversation to remind you to check in on our social channels. You can find little snippets from our episodes on Instagram at dream.on_pod. And if you're a lacrosse stud looking for a unique way to train and develop into the best version of yourself, like our guest here most definitely has, check out the KO17 Lacrosse app in the App Store. That's KO17 Lacrosse. And at DREAM_ON_POD on Instagram. Come join the fam and we can keep dreaming on together. Okay, enough of that. We back.
So well said. I can't even add anything to that. I think we're just gonna clip that right there. Mic drop. Charlotte North, and episode's over.
And cut.
And we're done. Just kidding, everyone. We're gonna continue, but because we want to ask Charlotte about winning all her championships because she has quite a couple of them. And I think, like you're mentioning, right, the culture and the relationship building and the chemistry and all the stuff that's deeper than, like you said, X's and O's and on the field. Is really what culminated a lot of your personal success and also your team's success. So I know you're probably going to answer these questions a little bit differently, but I have known you for a couple of years now, and I know that you're a competitor, and I've known that since the second we started talking about any sort of anything. For those of you out there, me and Charlotte have been roommates on pretty much every single Team USA trip. Yes, and it's incredible because
It's a
she
time.
tells me, yeah, she tells me about this game, or I'm so excited about this one, or I can't wait to play Foursquare in the
Oh
in the
God,
common
don't
room.
even get started on that.
But it's even the smallest of games that you wouldn't think would matter too much matter a lot to you, and that's just that heart of a competitor, right? So I guess my question for you before we get into actually standing on the field and the confetti falling of the championships, where did that mentality of a competitor come from for you? Was it inspired by something, or were you just kind of born with it?
I don't know. I definitely consider myself a super competitive person. I think, that kind of competitive nature and environment, it's fun to me. So I think that goes hand in hand with where I'm so passionate about a competition. It's because it's also, what fuels my fun. So lacrosse or something not as serious and intense is still, it's super competitive for me, like you said. But I don't know. I've always loved sports because I don't think you can get that feeling anywhere else. And so, watching, cheering for a team or playing, it's such a unique experience and feeling. And so I think that's why my whole life I've just loved sports and loved being around sports and playing other sports and lacrosse, obviously. And just being such an avid fan of the sports world.
Love it. Seriously, don't play any sort of card game or anything with this girl. She will win. So
I don't know that one game they were playing down the hall in what was the game? Catan?
Catan. Yeah, Catan.
I don't know if I could hang with that one. That looked like a brains game that I could not follow. Every time I walk by, I'm like, what?
Trying to figure it out.
What are you guys doing?
They played for days at a time too.
Days.
I don't know.
They were addicted.
My patience isn't on that level, but
Yeah,
it's
no.
okay.
Foursquare is where it's at, though.
Yeah, I was the referee for Foursquare, but I loved it because every single time you guys looked at me was it in? I was like, sure.
And then there'd be fights. There'd be some kind of dispute.
Oh, so much fun. But okay, going back to BC really quick before we get into more Team USA stuff, but you finally hoist that trophy in 2021. Explain those feelings to me. Walk me through that feeling.
Oh my gosh, it was an unbelievable day. I think, honestly, the coolest part, you know, it was all surreal. It all felt like a dream. But when the coaching staff ran over to us and the tears coming down from Acacia's face and the tears from our fifth years and seniors who weren't coming back the next year, and then running that trophy at that moment over to the alumni who were in the stands also in tears. It was like a moment of it all coming together where it was like Sam was holding the trophy and it was all the years that she'd put in and worked so hard for and was the whole, one of the reasons we were there. And then it was her teammates in the stands and them holding it together. And then it was the years before that. And then it was Covey Stanwyck and Sarah Manley and all those players who came even before them who had built the culture that I mentioned. And with the coaching staff, it was the coolest thing because it's something everyone chases, and it's like to see what all those people had done and contributed to the program that might not have exactly turned out into a championship in their years. It had contributed to ours in so many ways, and it was just a moment of like the whole family coming together and celebrating something that had taken years and years and years of hard work to achieve. And it was surreal for sure.
I love it. There's a couple pictures that, like, I don't know about you, but I'm also a big, avid sports fan, of course. And there are just like some photos and some video grabs that like stick out in your memory. And there's one, of course, from that 2021 year. And I was, of course, looking through your Instagram for some photos for this episode and stuff. But I already knew this one was there because it was just like one of those like iconic pictures of you hoisting the trophy. And I forget what the caption is, but it's something like woke up still champs pretty much, but something around that. And it's just, it was so cool, like obviously I'm a Seawolves fan. I'm not an Eagles fan, but like, it was so cool to see and know, like you said, as an alumni, like knowing that that whole team was chasing for that. The alumni were chasing for it. The coaches were chasing for it. It just means so much day in and day out that like all of those emotions probably came rushing right through you, and it's really, really cool to see. But taking that into the last couple of years, you go right off of that into this whole whirlwind of Team USA preparation for the World Championship in 2022. So can you talk about your first time getting the kind of call up to kind of come to a training weekend with Team USA? What was that like?
Yeah, oh my gosh. So I remember I was a senior, not a fifth year, and they announced like the tryouts. And so we got that email and then something happened. COVID postponed, it delayed it a little bit, right?
I think it was like something like that, or tryouts, and then there was a big delay or something along those lines.
Yeah. And so then obviously I was like, oh my God, what? Like it was a dream. Like again, I talked to Maggie, like, what are your ultimate lacrosse dreams? Like where do you want to go in your career? And I always was like, Team USA is a complete dream. Obviously, like that I would work, day in and day out with that goal in mind too, as a long-term goal, but never really, visualize it happening. And when that happened was, I was like, oh gosh, like freaking out. And I was like already nervous months and months and months and months in advance. But it was really cool. And then, after the tryout, it was so cool getting to just meet all those people and be on the same field and look around, and just everyone was in, the same USA penny, and it was really, really cool. And then after that, getting asked back and getting to be roommates, obviously, and go to a training weekend. It's just, the environment was just so surreal because it was all of the people that I looked up to watching in college and watching highlights, including yourself, weekend out and week in and week out, and watching college games and watching, Team USA games that were streamed, even if it was an exhibition game or whatever it was. And I just was like, am I really here? Like, this is insane. And it was so fun. Like it was every, session had something, something more. And it was awesome getting a chance to know the players off the field and to play with them on the field, and then to continue on in that process. I was just very lucky and grateful for that, because obviously gave us so many incredible experiences that we'll always remember for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I can't say it any better. I mean, it's so like such a surreal feeling when you finally get to training camp and you're like, literally that same exact feeling I think happens to me still every time. Like you look around
Yeah.
and you just have one of those like moments, you're like, she's on the same team as her and me. Like, you know, you look down at the penny and you're like, wait, me too?
You're like, wait,
this
my
is me?
locker's next to
Yes.
Taylor Cummings. Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one? Okay, right. That's so funny. I'll tell a funny story about my that makes me think about that. So my first training weekend, I was I believe a junior at Stony Brook that I got invited to, and we went into the locker room for one of the sessions or whatever. And at that point, this was the 2017 World Cup team. Before that, it was the training team. So like Kelly Berger was still on the team, Ali Carey, Sarah Bullard, like all legends. And I just remember my locker was next to Kelly Berger's. And I remember her and someone else, I think it was Sarah Bullard, was squeezed in between these two like vets. And I was just like, you know, little like 21-year-old Kylie.
Yeah.
Just like, hey guys, like, you know, just making conversation, like hoping they liked me and everything. And then I remember, you know, like we were playing a game and you got to take your jewelry out. So I was, you know, taking my 3 jewels out of my ears and like, that's it. And people were taking off their wedding rings and like their engagement rings. And I was looking around like, oh my God, am I old enough to be here? Like, you know,
like,
it was just one of those moments. I was like, oh my gosh. Like you said, like just really like breath taken back, and you kind of like get back into like your 12-year-old self. You're like, okay, is this like really happening? All right, I gotta get my game face on.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
and it was cool. It was really cool because this summer I went from being a 5th-year captain to with Emma and Ali to the 3 youngest ones on the team. So it was a cool dynamic, and I felt like I was starstruck all the way up until the end, where I just was like, did that just happen? I literally was just like, oh my God. And I thought it was so cool just to see up close and just feel like the leadership of the veterans, and just see how they you know did their thing, and just to get to take that all in was really special.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most special parts for me too, is just like being able to see how some of the best players in the world lead and like handle adversity and handle like success and all those moments. And like those are things you don't learn without being like next to all of those people. You know, you could see it from the outside in one way or another, like on social media, but you learn so much just being in those huddles. But anyway, one more time talking about the confetti. What did it feel like to pick up that gold medal?
This one?
Finally. Yeah, there we go. I love it. That was so cute. Ruby things.
Should we break them? I'm kidding. It was so, I mean, oh my God.
That would be so funny.
I literally like I will never forget when the horn blew and we were on the field, and it was like, honestly, it was like raining, a little cold, like really weird conditions, but it was like all the older people that I look up to, who have unfortunately but deservedly so retired, were crying, and I just was hugging them and everyone, and I just was like, it was just like a bittersweet but also like insane feeling to see like Taylor go up and get her medal, and Kayla go up and get her medal, and Alice and Liz and Becca, and literally all of them. I just was like, these people have done so much for our sport, and like for them to have it all culminate in this gold medal, which they all just dominated and just played incredibly and led just fearlessly, and were just so amazing in every aspect. And I just was like, it was so cool. It was so special.
I love that. I think any other person probably would have talked about how they felt in the moment, and you were just talking about literally how everyone else was making you feel. And I think that's really, really cool. Just speaks volumes about Charlotte, people who are listening. I think that's really, really awesome. All right, can we just like really quick before we get off the field, off lacrosse stuff, like can you explain to the people what the dialed in is?
Oh gosh. Okay, yes. It's a very serious business. I'm working 9 to 5. Some call it 25/8, but I work around the clock here in Boston, running administration. Some call me housekeeping, but I like to do the nitty gritty work of the operations. Kayla Trainer, she's our CEO. She oversees most things that happen, everything. She goes to a lot of conferences and different locations to get some tips for our business. And then Allie, the third out of the four members, she runs marketing. So she does, you see dialed in. We're big on our brand, so we like to make it known nationwide. So she's done a great job there, and I am working here remotely in Boston. But when we come back together, you guys can come visit the dialed in anytime. We've had Kylie, actually herself was an employee of the day. I think she was one of the first ones. But our criteria for employee of the day is very strict. It's very hard to be a nominee. And so it's a really, it's probably even better than anything you've achieved in your career, to be honest. It's if you'd like to know the criteria, we can put in an inquiry. But
we can send you an email real quick.
Yeah. That would be Charlotte at dialedin.inc, if you want to reach me. But yeah, no, it's great. It's the business is expanding. And we just started this summer in Towson, Maryland, and that's where we headquarter. But yeah, it's a great business, and we have great employees. And we get together every night. Sometimes it's ladies' night. Those are the best nights. But yeah,
most nights are ladies' night.
Yeah. But it's a great experience of the dialed and great vibes. Always good vibes. That's rule number one when we talk about our culture. It's good vibes. Good vibes.
Okay. Well, for those of you listening, the dialed in, as Charlotte just explained, was something that really kept us together and kept us going during our 10-day span in the Towson dorms with the US team this past summer. And Charlotte I know she says she's director of operations and housekeeping and all that good stuff, but she was pretty much also the founder. So
yeah.
Incredible
I guess
vibes.
The founder, but Kayla's the CEO,
Okay. Yes, of course.
It all
Handing
started,
off the hat.
nobody even knows how it started, but it all started when we walked on to Johnny U for our first practice, when we were getting our sticks checked, remember? And then
Yes, okay.
we didn't have our sticks, and we were warming up, and I said, we had just found out our rooms that day. And I said,
okay,
we were warming up, and I said, Kayla, where are you sleeping tonight? And she was like, what? And I was like, the dialed in. And she was like, you're a freak. I was like, cool. So then I made the poster outside our wall.
And then we just ran with it. Yes. Yeah. As you should. No, it's incredible. I think that's something like, yes, we'll never forget the gold medal, but we will most definitely be 80 years old and think about the dialed in forever as well. So, okay, sure. off the lacrosse field, outside of your gig with the dialed in, what's Charlotte like off the field? What are some of the things that like you fill your days with? What are some of the things like outside of lacrosse that make you happy?
Yeah, outside of lacrosse. So day to day.
Hard question, right?
I know. I'm trying to think because I love playing, obviously. I love coaching. I love hanging out with friends. I love eating good food. Literally love. Like if you're a football fan on a Sunday and you're eating wings and buffalo chicken dip, that's like heaven.
Okay, perfect Sunday.
And the Cowboys get a win. Duh, the Cowboys.
Of course.
And let's see what else. A lot of my life revolves around sports, watching sports, coaching lacrosse.
I get it. What's a typical day in the life look like for you these days?
I wake up, get my Starbucks, because I'll be.
I already know
breakfast.
The order.
Yeah, roommates know each other's Starbucks orders. Fine. Or Dunkin', but usually Starbucks.
Most of the time Starbucks.
Yeah. Eat breakfast, go work out. And I'll probably, shoot a little bit after a workout, get some shots up, and then I'm currently finishing my master's degree, so I'll do a little bit of work there if I have the time. If not, I'll do most of the like admin stuff for my business, and then I head out to coach starting at like 4. And I'll do some groups. I'll do some different ages, and sometimes weekends I'll travel and do some clinics that will get up and running soon. But that's about it. Cook dinner
Love
maybe
it.
if I'm feeling up for it. Maybe
Maybe if we have the time.
with my roommates.
All right. So what's next in the life for Charlotte? You're running a business, continuing to play. What's next?
Yep, I am. Honestly, I think my main goal is to connect obviously with the next generation of lacrosse players, which I love doing. I love, any chance I get to, really dive into the next generation and individually, everyone's stories. I think it's so cool how that is a part of our sport and it connects us, on the whole. And then, more of a bigger goal is pushing lacrosse to become, bigger professionally, bigger nationally, bigger internationally, and hopefully, one day we'll be playing in the Olympics down the line. Let's hope. But there's so many people working hard for that goal to be achieved, which is amazing. And yeah, I want to help grow the sport as much as I can, and just stay involved. Hopefully at a bunch of different levels.
Love it. All right. Before we get to our questions from our KO17 fam, which they did a wonderful job with, by the way. I told you they'd be excited to hear Charlotte North. We like to end with a little bit of inspiration. So this is kind of like a double-sided question. So on the first side of it, from someone special in your life, maybe a mentor or coach or special person in your life, what is one piece of advice that you've taken from them that you've just kind of like carried on throughout your entire life?
That is really amazing. I gotta stay on the theme because Maggie's taught me so much, and there's a lot that she's taught me about life. I'll give you 2. I'll give you one thing that I learned from her was can't is a choice. So anytime you say you catch yourself, because a lot, day to day, you kind of build habits and you say things and it's like, oh, I can't do that, or like you don't really notice it, but it's like you catch yourself once you like think about it, like when something's in the front of your head. And it's like it seems simple, but it's like you can literally catch yourself saying that about the littlest things, and it's like, wait, no, that's a choice. I can choose to like change that. You know what I mean? Like I can do it if I want, if I want to, if I set my mind to it, I can, no matter how big or how little it is. And something, I guess it's not really like a phrase like that, but it's something that I learned from Acacia is that in life, I guess it's more of like a bigger life thing. Whatever kind of fills your cup or fuels your passion is what you should seek out, because without passion, there's no point of doing anything, right? So whatever you choose to spend your time on, or who you spend your time with. We talked about it a little bit at US, right, with Dr. Hacker, but choosing to, pick the path that fuels your passion the most is what's gonna, keep you feeling your best and drive you and motivate you to continue to push and go for more.
That's amazing. I'm gonna write both of those down when we're done here. But on on the flip side of that, so say you're Acacia or you're Maggie for the next girl. What do you hope that all of these young girls, young boys, people who are following you can take from you?
That's also a great question. I think I always come back in my head to like the number one thing that lacrosse has brought me is relationships, and so much just like joy. And it's joy with those relationships. It's joy with the memories that you make with the people by your side. And it's all this fun in the sport that I have been so fortunate enough to find through the people who have brought me to the sport and, mentored me along the way. And so I hope that I can mentor anyone into feeling that joy and that fun and that passion in the sport while being, surrounding yourself with amazing people and just finding, your innermost happiness playing and practicing and things like that, because I think at the root of it, that is, the core that then drives everything else: work ethic, how to be a good teammate, you know, uh, just all the other things that come with, being an elite athlete. I
Mhm.
think that the core of all of that is that happiness that it brings you, to then, push you to show up and work hard and things like that. Um, so I hope that, nowadays there's so much like pressure in sports. You know, um, there's so much focus, and there's, some people put, a lot of pressure on themselves, and there's outside pressures, and there's, um, it could be a lot, sometimes. So, helping people find that, innermost core, um, joy that the sport brings you is what I love.
That's amazing. Well, I can guarantee you that people are already finding that from following you. So we're gonna get to a couple of those people right now. We have 2 or 3 questions from our KO17 fam. You like that segue? That was good, right?
That's good. That's
Um,
good. That's funny.
yes. Um, stamp of approval there. Okay, so from our KO17 fam, this one is from Kira Kirby. Why do you wear number 8 or 88 with AU?
So that's a good question. When I was going into my freshman year, not a whole lot of numbers were available, but I was 10 in high school, which is why I was 10 on US team also.
Mhm.
But I there was not a lot of numbers available, and 8 was one of them, and I loved Kobe Bryant. Um, and I loved his book. I don't know if you guys have read his book, but and his whole, obviously he's really known for his mentality, um, and his work ethic and his drive and his how great of a teammate he was. A lot of people talk about Mamba mentality, but it also goes with, how he was as a teammate. Um, and so that was, part of the reason. Um, and I stuck with it ever since. And I was lucky enough when I came to BC. Actually, Covey Stanwyck was the legend of the Boston College lacrosse team who wore number 8. And she was my high school coach for 2 years. She's in the famous Stanwyck family, and she had an incredible career at BC. She moved down to Dallas. She was an assistant to Maggie for 2 years. She was working in Dallas and helped out, and she taught me so much about the sport. And then when I decided to go to BC, she helped me so much in the adjustment, and she helped me, and taught me a lot in that, time period. And then I was lucky enough to get to wear her number, which was really cool, full circle moment. And then when I got to AU, also not a lot of numbers available, but
Just
I
double
wanted
it
to
up,
stick with
right?
8. So I thought to go with 88. And also, side note, huge Cowboys fan. Obviously, the most famous wide receiver number on the Cowboys is number 88, formerly worn by so many greats, Michael Irving, Des Bryant, and now CD Lamb on the Cowboys. So I think it's a cool overlap.
Okay, I don't think they expected that answer to be that long, but I I really love it. It's
There's a lot of history.
so well thought out. So Charlotte North is not just Ocho for no reason.
Not for no reason.
Not for no reason. All right, this next one is from Kayla Agari, and she wants to know what your workouts are like.
That's a great question. I am lucky enough to go. I train with Mike Boyle. He is a former um, BU hockey guy, and he has started, or he for a long time has worked, for Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, and he's super smart, and he is an amazing trainer, and he knows the ins and outs of almost every sport, especially lacrosse. And I'm lucky enough to get to train at his gym, and with him and his people, and a community up there. So it's awesome. They're pretty much like, to get into like the specific workout. Um, it's, agility, a lot of, what is it called when you like um do jumping stuff?
I think that's in agility. Jumping.
Agilities, and yeah, a lot of like cones, med balls, box jumps, hurdles,
All of the above,
things like
right?
that. And then do a lift of some sort, something full body, try to hit a lot of areas, and then some sort of conditioning, whether it's a run, some shuttle work, a bike workout, things like that. So try to
So you
get it
like
all
the
in there.
variety, right?
Love it. Love the variety.
Yeah.
And I love, not just, doing a ton of sprints one day and then doing a heavy lift another day. It's you get a little bit of everything, and you get a lot of agility work, which is huge in our sport for sure.
Yeah. Love that. All right, we're gonna go on to our last segment here, which is called quick finishes. So kind of
Oh,
like
God.
right on the crease, just like a
Yeah.
quick little finish. So you're supposed to try to answer it as quickly as you possibly can, like first answer that comes to your mind. But
Oh God, I'm
some of
sweating.
our guests,
No, I'm kidding.
some of our guests take a really long time, but you're a competitor at heart, so you're gonna do great. Okay, you ready? Just random questions, just to get to know you. Okay, what's your all-time favorite movie?
Elf.
Salty or sweet snacks?
Salty, 100%. Love chips. Not really a sweets person. Don't really love baked goods or candy. It's weird. I love soda though.
I was gonna say she's a big soda girl.
Love.
One of your favorite athletes to look up to or follow?
Oh, the list goes on and on. Lacrosse wise, probably all of our US teammates. Every single one of them, specifically those older ones that I mentioned. I've looked up to them for so long. And they just, they've been idols to me and great mentors for all of us, who are younger than them. And then beyond that, I've got to go with, oh gosh, there's a million. Sue Bird, who just retired, the GOAT of women's basketball. Sorry, my mind's always on lacrosse.
Probably lacrosse too if she tried.
Yeah, honestly, if she tried. And then so many, but I got to go with Steph Curry, men's basketball. He's done so much while being doubted for so long, and kind of redefined his position in his sport. And he gets a lot of criticism for like that role, I guess, but it's so cool how he's just such a boss and handles that.
Love it. All right, what is one band or artist that you'd want to see in concert right now?
Ooh, I'm a huge country fan, but I was supposed to go see Justin Bieber this summer, as I probably said 5,000 times at the World Cup. And unfortunately, he had to cancel his tour due to health problems. I hope he's feeling better. But I
Justin, if you hear this.
was looking. Yeah, Justin listens to Dream On. Spread it.
Please, and feel better.
But if you hear this, Justin, I would really like for you to announce new tour dates, because I'm really looking forward to it. I've looked forward to it my whole life.
And if you need, we have extra rooms at the Dialed In.
Yeah. I could totally cover for you. But yeah, if you could get all my employees and employees of the day tickets to it, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks so much. That would be me as well. So yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite place that you've traveled to?
Oh gosh, I gotta say, we just went to Paris and Barcelona with our Boston College team. We were so lucky to get to go on that trip. We played lacrosse actually in Barcelona. We played an awesome team that had players come in from all around Europe, and we gave a little clinic that day too, and it was super fun just getting to see the state of lacrosse over there, and meet so many cool people. And then we got to explore the city of Paris and the city of Barcelona, and those places were really, really cool.
That's awesome. They're both on my list. All right, what's your go-to karaoke song? This should be easy.
So many, but oh gosh. Honestly,
Bad by Yang Yang Twins, right?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And when we were in the dorms, and man, I feel like a woman came on the first day that we got the mics up and running. Me and Alice were singing. That was really fun.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it has to be a duet though.
Yeah, for sure. Duets are more fun
tacos.
anyways.
Yes, they are. Tacos or pizza?
Pizza.
One thing on your bucket list.
Like I would say, I've always wanted to travel to Italy. And that's definitely on my bucket list. Is it fair to say bucket list play lacrosse in the Olympics?
That's fair.
More like
I
a
like it.
dream slash goal.
Dream
yeah.
slash goal slash bucket list. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Kylie here. A short break from our conversation to remind you to check in on our social channels. You can find little snippets from our episodes on Instagram at dream.on_pod. And if you're a lacrosse stud looking for a unique way to train and develop into the best version of yourself, like our guest here most definitely has, check out the KO17 Lacrosse app in the App Store. That's KO17 Lacrosse. And at DREAM_ON_POD on Instagram. Come join the fam and we can keep dreaming on together. Okay, enough of that. We back.
All right, last but not least, who is someone that you're grateful for?
Oh my gosh, so many people. One
person you want to shout out on the Dream On pod.
And the first person that comes to mind that like I think has played such a big role in not just being my teammate but a mentor in my life is Kayla, because I was fortunate enough to be coached by her, and I'm so grateful for our relationship because ever since I got to learn from her and learn about leadership and learn about lacrosse and learn about being on a team and learn about life from her, to then getting to be on the same team as her. And, even now that she's retired, just knowing I literally at any moment can just pick up the phone and call her and ask her for her opinion, or, just check in and see, anything like that, life wise, lacrosse wise. It's just I'm so grateful for our relationship, and she just means so much to me. So definitely got to be her.
There you go. That was a good one. I love it. All right. Where can our listeners find more of you? Social media, websites, where can they find more of Charlotte?
Definitely social media, Instagram. I guess I have my personal Instagram, and then I have my business Instagram, Charlotte North Lacrosse, which is also a website, charlottenorthlacrosse.com.
There we go.
And in the works, I would say, but lots coming soon, where hopefully we can have more fun and play more lacrosse in more places together. And yeah, that's the goal.
All around the world. I love it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. That was a really, really awesome episode. We really dove into Charlotte's, all of her history and her whole journey and all of her medals and championships and trophies, but also just kind of like really diving into who she is as a person, which I think is really special. And I hope that you all can see that, because I know that I've gotten to know her very well from being her teammate. I'm very, very grateful for that. So Char, thank you for being on the Dream On podcast. I really, really appreciate your friendship and your teammateship.
Thanks, Kylie. You're the best. I am so lucky to know you and to watch all that you do for this great sport, because everyone in the KO17 fam is lucky.
Oh, thank you. All right, Dream On fam, we will see you next time.
Word.